We know he's killed at least 5 people, but he's actually confessed to killing at least 37. Hello friends, happy Monday. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to be talking about the infamous Zodiac Killer. A lot of you have probably heard of this case. Some of you may have seen people on TikTok claiming they've solved it or people trying to solve it. Regardless of the theories, let's just go to the beginning and talk about it. These killings took place in the late 60s, early 70s in Northern California. December 20th, 1968 in Vallejo, California, 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen were found shot in their car off of Lake Herman Road. Betty was actually found dead 30 feet away from the car, and David Faraday died on the way to the hospital. Now flash forward to July 4th, 1969. A man approached a parked car with a flashlight and shot 22-year-old Darlene Farron and 20-year-old Michael Mageau. Michael Mageau actually survived, and he described the man as having a stocky build. He was young, white, 26 to 30, at least 200 pounds, with curly brown hair and a large face. Now remember that description because we'll come back to it. Within an hour, somebody called the police claiming to be the shooter of both shootings, and on August 1st, 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald all received handwritten letters from someone claiming to be the killer in all these killings. The letters had details of the crimes to prove that it was him, and they were all signed with the infamous circle with the cross in it, the sign of the Zodiac. These letters included 3 codes that he wanted printed off in the newspapers, saying that if they weren't printed off, he would kill again. The codes, he said, would uncover his identity. So they printed the codes, and we waited for people to crack them. On August 4th, 1969, he wrote another letter where this was the first time he referred to himself as the Zodiac. And on August 8th, 1969, a couple from Salinas, California, cracked the code, the cipher. And this is what the cipher read. I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for afterlife. Crazy, right? Yeah, afterlife, slaves, like what? On September 27th, 1969, in Napa, California, Cecilia Shepard, 22, and Brian Hartnell, 20, were having a picnic in a park. They say a man with an executioner-style hood came up to them. He had a long rope and a knife, and he tied them up and he stabbed them. Brian actually survived the stabbing, and his description of the man was that it was a white male, 5'8" to 6 foot, with dark brown hair. He was between 225 to 250 pounds, and he was heavyset. There was a message written on Brian's car. It said the Zodiac, and it had the 3 dates of all the killings, and underneath the September 27th killing, it had the words "by knife" written, which was the stabbing. On October 11th, 1969, a San Francisco cab driver was shot by his passenger. A girl and her 2 neighbors actually witnessed this event, and they gave their description to the police as a white male, 25 to 30 years old, between 5'8", 5'9", with red-brown crew-cut hair, a stocky build, and these thick-rimmed glasses. Now the police dispatcher that came out actually messed up the identification and alerted people that they were looking for an African-American male. Now, these cops were driving around doing their surveillance, and they actually passed a young white male that matched the description, but because they were told to look for an African-American male, they passed him up and said nothing to him. The Zodiac actually wrote about this in a future letter, talking about the event and how they just didn't do anything and didn't catch him then. They did find a bloody fingerprint in the cab, but it was a partial, and the Zodiac later claimed that he had planted it there to throw them off their scent. He also sent another letter along with a piece of the bloody shirt from the cab driver, and at this point a Zodiac task force was created, but the case was getting cold. On April 20th, 1979, the Zodiac sent another letter with another cipher to the San Francisco Chronicle, this one stating, "My name is blank." The Zodiac sent his last letter in 1974, and flash forward to 2002, the police in San Francisco got a partial profile from some saliva found on a stamp of one of the letters he sent. However, it was a partial profile, so they couldn't identify him, but they could eliminate suspects. The Zodiac sent his last letter in 1974, where he claims to have killed 37 people, and he weirdly includes a reviewing on The Exorcist. There have been a lot of theories about who could be the Zodiac Killer, and we're going to talk about 3 of them. Gary Stewart thought his father, Earl Van Best Jr., was the killer. He resembled one of the descriptions, and the letters in his name also matched the letters of the cipher that the Zodiac sent in. A handwriting expert also said that the handwriting on Earl's marriage certificate was a resemblance to the Zodiac's. However, it later came out that it was the priest that wrote on that marriage certificate, not Earl. Gary Stewart did try to test his father's DNA against the partial that the police had, but they told him there was not enough evidence to go along with that testing. One of the most popular theories is Robert Gray Smith, a political cartoonist who believes that Arthur Lee Allen was the Zodiac Killer, and there is some incriminating evidence against Arthur Lee Allen, though he was never convicted. On September 27, 1969, Arthur Lee Allen told his family he was going to go scuba diving at Lake Berryessa. That night, he came home covered in blood and there was a bloody knife in his car. That day at Lake Berryessa, Cecilia and Brian were stabbed. They did search Arthur Lee Allen's house multiple times, and they found bloody knives, they found dissected animals, sexual devices, bombs, plans for bombs, and they found videotapes about the Zodiac. They also gave Michael Mageau a lineup, and Michael Mageau picked out Arthur Allen as the man who attacked him. Arthur was convicted in 1974 of child molestation and went to jail for 3 years, and during this time there were no Zodiac letters sent to the police. A few years later, one of his cellmates also said that Arthur had confessed to him that he had killed Paul Stein, the cab driver. Arthur Allen passed away in 1992 of a suspected heart attack in his house. They ran his DNA and it wasn't a match, but he was also known to have other people lick his envelope, so that could explain that. But they also ran his fingerprints and handwriting analysis, and neither of those matched either. The third theory is from police officer Harvey Hines, who believed that Lawrence Kay, also known as Lawrence Kane, was the Zodiac Killer. Kane lived just 6 blocks from where the cab driver was believed to have picked up his killer, and also Darlene Ferris's sister said that Kane was stalking Darlene prior to her murder. There was another woman who went missing, Donna Lass, and she worked in the same hotel as Kane. There was also another Zodiac incident that Kane was connected to. On March 22, 1970, Kathleen Johns and her baby were tricked on the highway by getting a ride from the Zodiac, and the Zodiac wrote about this in a future letter. Kathleen saw the killer, and she was told by him that he was going to kill her and throw her baby out, so she jumped out of the moving car and fled to safety. She was given a lineup, and she definitively pointed out Lawrence Kane as the person who had tricked her into getting a ride. However, Lawrence Kane did not match the handwriting analysis, and there was no further proof to convict him. Anyways, those are just some of the theories, but I would love to know what you think, so comment below what your theory is, what your thoughts are, and as always, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and thank you so much for watching. Bye, friends.